Okay. Hi.
I think we're live.
Hi, we're live. Hi, Carrie. We're excited to have you all here today. My name is Denise Schwendeman, and I'm here with my very good friend, Carrie Donegan. And today we're going to talk about heart health and what all that means. And so we're going to give you a couple of facts right now that are a little sobering, just so you have them. An estimated 9 million people, die each year from cardiovascular disease. That represents 32% of the worldwide deaths. So that's a third of the population. That is just amazing to us. When we heard that number, we could not. It's amazing, right?
Totally staggering. Yeah, for me anyway. I don't know. When we think about illnesses, I go right to the big ones like, I don't know, what's in the news, or cancer, or car accidents, or drug overdoses, or something really, really dramatic. And yet what we're talking about today is something that, is really in the center of our life and our health, but also the silent killer, right? In a way, I think some of this is very silent, especially for women. And that's our big focus, right? We want women to know that we are bringing them information. Not that men can't benefit from this information too, but one of the focus points for What's the Takeaway, our program, is to give women a break, right? When you and I were talking, Denise, you had this wonderful phrase that just blew me away. Can you share it with everybody? We say it at every show, but it's so important.
Oh gosh, let's bust the busy and the myth of the busy. Let's really get down to what we want in our lives and make room for it and be joyful about it. Bust the busy myth.
Yeah, and I think people who are always busy and always stressed and always nervous and always worried, this is going to affect their heart. What do you think?
Absolutely. That stress is detrimental on many levels, but especially to our heart.
Yes. So what are we taking away? Because we have to give people some things that they can delete out of their life, right? So what are our three takeaways for this show?
So our three takeaways, which we're going to talk about a little bit after this in detail, is be cognizant to remove some of the heavily chemically laden food. So be mindful when we're out and about or what we purchase and we cook in our own home. That's one thing, because we want to remove some of those. We're all, or most of us, right? We're not running all day long anymore, especially right now. A lot of us are sitting in front of a screen for hours on end. We want you to know that sitting is the new smoking. I'm sure you've heard that. We've heard that. So we want you to make sure you sit for less than an hour each time and then get up like every 50 minutes or so and walk around or go down the block, whatever it is. So that's number two. Let's not sit for more than an hour at a time. And the third one is letting go of anger, of bitterness, of unhappiness, and the stress that is caused by all of that. Letting go with forgiveness. And whether that's forgiving you or forgiving someone in your life or something that happened, it's time to let go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love these things because these takeaways are not all that difficult. Like, we could start today. You don't have to do any prep work. You need a little bit of education, which is why they're listening to the show, hopefully, so they can get some direction and education. But we understand that you're only going to be with us probably for the next 15 or 20 minutes or so. So we're going to put an email link in the chat right now. I'll do that, so that if you are looking for additional materials on the material we're talking about today, a happy heart, happy life, right? We're going to give you that link right now, because that's really important. We don't want this conversation to start. So you want to look for us at whatsthetakeaway@gmail.com.
So while you're doing that, so let me get back to that number again. 32% of all the worldwide deaths, that's a third of the world's population, are from heart issues. Right. So we're going to discuss some of the factors that are attributing to these unbelievable numbers. Carrie and I, though, we want to let you know that we're not physicians, and none of the information that we're sharing today really should take the place of going to your physician and seeking regular medical advice and necessary treatment. We just wanted to put that out there. What we are going to share with you are our experiences and our investigations, right? We've looked, we've spent a lot of time studying these things. Carrie is beautifully knowledgeable and is so lovely to share everything she knows with us. So we're always so lucky to have her, because she is an expert on systems in the body, and the heart is what is the biggest system. I guess it keeps everything going.
It sure does, right? It's the center, really. I think sometimes when we think about what's going on in your body, right, we go right to the heart of the matter. I mean, even the phrases, one of the things I looked up, because I love to research when we were talking about this, Denise, was things that have to do with the heart, phrases that have to do with the heart. And there's over 100 phrases we use every day that are heart centered. Even heart centered is a phrase. Whole businesses are now talking about a heart centered approach, right? So, not that mind phrases don't come up, but really heart-centered phrases are super, super popular right now, which I love. And I do want to jump on what you said, which is I hope people will take this information and maybe make an appointment to go to your doctor, because one of the things that's happening during COVID is people are not going to see their physicians right now, and other things could be happening in your health that you're not as aware of as you used to be, because you're not actually going to the doctor. So if we can put that in there, I know it's not a takeaway, it's an addition, but if you've kind of taken that off your list of things to do, you want to go get a checkup and make sure your heart's in good shape, right?
Absolutely.
But
And
let's talk about.
I wanted to mention one thing before we go on.
Go ahead. I was just
well,
yeah, go right ahead.
Women, we tend to put everyone else first. And symptoms of heart irregularities are very different from women than men. And so we pass it off as indigestion or, something like that, maybe ate something that didn't agree with me. So it is really important for us to pay attention to that. The other thing is we are going to get back to our takeaway, right? So it's interesting because most cardiovascular diseases can actually be prevented by addressing, our behavior and what we're taking in. Things like if we smoke, or certainly an unhealthy diet. And that's what we want to talk about now, taking out foods that really, really aren't good for us, right? And it's interesting because two or three quarters of the people who die worldwide are middle or lower income. And there's a direct tie to the foods they're eating, which makes a lot of sense, doesn't it, Carrie? Like, it makes a huge
Oh my gosh. It makes so much sense. And if I could reverse some of the marketing that's done out in the world, I would love for people just to remember what fast food looks like. And fast food doesn't look like something that comes in a bag or a box or a container or has a pull tab on it. Fast food, you honestly just grab from the ground or pluck from a tree. And so even something as simple as the herbs in your garden, did you know that if you just went into your garden and grabbed some mint, which grows all over the place, right? It's so easy to grow mint. It's cheap. I mean, anybody can do this. You can do this inside your house, outside your house, so easy to do. But grabbing a fresh herb that just came out of the ground is filled with more nutrients than if you were to just sit down and eat a nice, big, beautiful, salad, which for the wealthier people in the world, right, the top 1 or 2%ers could cost you $25. And the truth is that salad may not be as healthy as just grabbing some herbs. So, go back, get it with your kids, maybe grow some basil or mint or any of those things are really, really good. That's fast food. Fresh fruits and vegetables, also fast food. One of the things that I did when our family was low on money is I joined a CSA. And I got my food for free because I organized the group and I helped divide the food. So I want people out there who might be watching and feeling like I don't have the money to eat really well. You may be spending on money on food that's not food, right? Like cheap food, because we're told that it's cheap, but it's not nutrient dense. So I know you looked at some of the things. What are the big ones we want to take away? Get that right out now.
So isn't it interesting that what you call fast food, that's not what people associate, right? They associate fast food restaurants. And the problem with that is that they're using lower quality everything. All their ingredients are lower quality. And they use really unhealthy cooking methods. So that's a real problem. But what you want to stay away from are like processed and cured meats. What are they? They're really high in salt, first of all, and high in fat.
And not even good salt, right? Not sea salt, not Himalayan salt, not the really good salts for you, but like the really bad salts.
Correct. And then things like deep fried foods. That's, bad for us. Candy, which is really a shame. We associate heart with bad fats, but sugar is a really big contributor to inflammation and obesity and all kinds of threats to, our health. And so we really have to look at the products we're taking. We have to read labels. We have to.
And can I just say something that drives me a little bit crazy, right? And we've talked about this before, right? Well, February, that's one of the reasons why we're talking about heart health. We have a big holiday coming up, right? Valentine's Day. And what do people go to? They go right to that candy aisle, right? Right to the chocolates. And not, look, there's some great fair trade chocolate out there, and slave-free chocolate. That's like a whole nother show that we could do. One of the things that Denise and I support is, working against human trafficking, which believe it or not, can start in Africa, where some of these cocoa beans are grown, and there's all kinds of things. So look for chocolate that's, you can find slave-free chocolate or fair trade chocolate, really good chocolate, but most of the stuff on the shelves is really, really bad for you. And the other thing that shocked me when I was looking into like what foods I could take out of my diet was the fact that the foods that have like the brightest colors to them are the worst, right? So the ones that are screaming at you, you almost want to go away from those. And the fact that I thought heart health meant low fat, and actually to get low fat foods, like the ones with the labels that say low fat, they have to put more sugar in them.
Absolutely.
That's a substitute. So it's not like they're just taking out the fat.
No.
You're doing a switch on us. And
well, they have
the
to.
switch is they're adding sugar. Also, wouldn't taste good because fats taste really
terrible.
Yeah.
It tastes terrible, right? Yeah. And the other thing about the coloring. So think heart health starts when you're a child. Your heart health starts when you're a child. If you're putting all these fun colors and all these candies and goo that squirts out at you when you bite into it, I mean, that's attracting a certain age, and you're training that age child for a lifetime.
Well, it's so funny you said that. I had this conversation with my mom today because I'm living with my parents. They're really, really not well. And one of the cereals that they really enjoy, especially because they're having a hard time chewing some hard foods, is puffed cereals. So these are just grains that I don't know, they go through some kind of baking process where they're puffed out, like puffed wheat, puffed rice. I remember my grandmother ate them, very low in sugar, like actually no sugar, I think, in them whatsoever, high in fiber, easy to chew, right? Can you find these on the shelves anymore? No. And what my mom said to me was, well, everybody who's eating food and buying food now grew up on sugar cereals. She goes, just think of when you were a kid. I think we're probably the first generation of kids that were given those
Cocoa Puffs,
colored
Charms.
Yeah, like I think somebody told me that like those dyes that went into foods came out in the early 70s. So like that's prime time for me as a kid, like looking down the aisle and wanting cereal, right? And candy and soda. Like that's, like soda. You look at those sugar contents.
That's the next one on our
no soda.
X that off. Well, and the truth is that soft drinks and sweetened juices, right? They have so much sugar in them. They're added sugar left and right. They're so far away. A juice is so far away from the fruit, the true fast food. But even worse are the diet drinks. And that's not so much because of the sugar, obviously. They overcompensate, right? We think, oh, we're having, a diet drink. I can eat more food. And so we overcompensate with calories, which we do automatically. It's something that's in us, which is an interesting, it's an interesting habit that we form. But it's actually those chemicals that are in those drinks, they actually affect our gastrointestinal bacteria. And what happens is it counteracts what you're really trying to gain. You're trying to gain losing weight. It actually changes your flora, your gut flora, and you actually gain weight, which is really bizarre. And it's really not helpful. But the sugary drinks for sure. We've talked about the sugary cereals, but what about all the pastries and the cookies and the processed foods that are out right now? I mean, it used to be you had to go to a bakery to get this. Now they're everywhere and they're packaged to last forever, which means they're really not good for us. And you have to watch out for the oils they're all cooked in. So really, you have to read labels. So something I go by, Carrie, and I don't know if you do, but for people who are diabetic who have to watch their glycemic index, 9 grams and down is acceptable for a diabetic.
Okay, good. 9 grams. Like
9 grams and down. That's anything above that. And listen, I have my kids train. So my kids are, I'm not kidding. They'll go to a restaurant or, we'll go pick up, like they love Chipotle, and Chipotle sells these drinks, these juices. And Luke got one and he looked at it and he handed it back to the guy. And I said, what's going on? He goes, there are 36 grams of sugar in this thing. And I went, oh my gosh. And so I'm glad that, or sad for them, but good for me, that they are now cognizant of what amounts of hidden sugar in our condiments, in everything. I mean, they're in everything. We really have to look. We have to make good choices or better choices. We can always.
Yeah, I think I have had some of those drinks. They're pretty good. And you think they're healthy, right? Like some of those things look like they're, gourmet foods or something. Doesn't mean that. I love that 9 grams of sugar. Okay. I'm going to look at that. I thought you were going to go to how many ingredients, because that's another thing that I've started to adopt and kind of train my kids to do. So like if I look at the back of something packaged and there's, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 ingredients, that's a big telltale sign for me, especially like on ice cream. Like ice cream should be sugar, cream, and maybe, I don't know, chocolate or something. But when you see, especially propylene glycol, those antifreeze things, if you can take a spoon and put it in your ice cream, fresh out of the freezer, like ditch it. Like ice cream out of the freezer should be like rock hard, or else you shouldn't buy it. So that was another thing. One of our favorite doctors, Dr. Polevsky, taught me that when I had little kids. He was like, no milk, no sugar, no ice cream. And I was like, what am I going to feed my kids?
What's left? What's left? A healthier child.
What's left, right? What's left? All right. So how do we get off our butts? That's another thing. That's our takeaway number 2. We got to take away the time that we're sitting. So what's your favorite? How do you remind yourself to get up and move?
I literally have to set an alarm.
Okay.
If I don't, I can just keep working. So
yeah, because I was going to say, you're a hard worker. You're good at focus. You're good at concentration. So that actually works against you, right? If you're someone who's really productive, you're actually, that can, maybe our ADHD people are actually have better heart health because they can't sit still for very long. That would be a really, really interesting thing to do. I have to say, it has helped me to drink more water, because sometimes I'm like, all right, I have to get up and move, but really have nowhere to go or anything to do, or I don't want to get pulled into the laundry or doing the dishes. Like I want to work, right? I want to work. So I'll give myself a water break. It's sort of like that old fashioned go to the water cooler and hang out kind of thing. So I don't switch to social media. I don't switch to another task, but I just give myself, like, I get up, I move, I drink a glass of water, I go back and sit down.
Yeah. So. Someone suggested that you put like a rebounder right next to your desk. We're all working at home. If you did that for 5 to 10 minutes, you'd get everything moving, right? Jump up and down. I did have one up here for a while, and then it got in the way.
Oh my gosh. So is it that little trampoline thing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I want one of those. Okay.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna get one of those. That'll be fun. Maybe we could do a whole show on like what we gained from that. I have to say, I'm gonna reference a show we did at the beginning of the year. We were talking about small goals to build good habits, right? I've been doing 20 baby push-ups every day for the last, I think we're on day, I don't know, 39 of the year. I'm still going strong. It takes me a couple of minutes and it's really pathetic in a way because, 20 little baby push-ups, but I'm sticking to it. So I think those little tiny goals, those little tiny changes can be really, really important. And it does get my heart rate up. That's another thing. Like when you do some exercise, you can do a little pulse check and just see, like, have you really increased your heart rate?
Yeah, because you're
Walking
resting
up and
heart
down
rate.
stairs. Do you have stairs in your house?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, your resting heart rate
Yeah.
should be 60 or
So
below.
you don't have to join a gym, right? Okay. Right. So walk up the stairs, go get some water, set an alarm, go get a rebounder. I love all those things. Those are really cool. I did
rebounder
see
was
this
fun.
amazing thing, and maybe we can connect with these people and do a future show, but they have these walking desks. Have you seen these? So
Dude,
you're standing up, right? So when you're standing up at your desk, you're standing up, so your posture is really good. And it's a treadmill. It's like this little treadmill, all right? And you're moving at such a slow pace but you're constantly moving. So you can still type and still focus, but you're actually walking.
well, you're gonna laugh, or you're gonna want to say, "Denise, what's wrong with you?" I bought the standing desk.
You did?
I did. It's over at my office.
Okay.
This is my home office, and I didn't buy the treadmill.
Oh.
It's not inexpensive. I'm going to tell you that.
Well, I figured. I know. I was thinking, well, maybe it's going to be like a couple year Christmas, like, I don't know, birthday present combination. But I thought, we're all working. I've been doing this. How long have you been working from home? A long time now.
That's what I plan to, installments.
Okay.
But I do like standing up. And it's a lot different. And you feel different.
Oh, definitely.
Because when you sit all day long, your muscles start to literally atrophy, and you can feel how that feels in your body. So your heart's a big muscle.
No, I know it is. I think we should do a show, because we're talking about different body systems. I think we need to do a show on muscular skeletal stuff too, because that would be really good. But we want that blood pumping, and we want our hearts to feel light. And so I think the last takeaway that I think is so important that people don't realize is the burden we carry with our emotions, right? And so many people, especially women, and I hate to say this because it sounds like I'm maybe favoring women over men, and I don't mean to do that, but statistically, women bear more emotional burdens than men. We give in during negotiations sooner than men do. I mean, this is just statistics, right? And for the women out there that hold your ground, I'm an admirer, but when it comes to compromise, a lot of women will be the first one to back down, right? We're people pleasers. We like contentment in our families. We like peace, but the result of that is that if you feel resentment, if you feel like you're not heard, if you feel like you've been wronged, you bear like a little brick of unforgiveness or anger or discontentment, right? And maybe one little brick is okay, but we throw it on our back and we carry it into the next moment in life. And these little bricks that we carry just keep adding up and adding up and adding up. And it's actually putting stress on our heart. And I read the coolest study from Johns Hopkins. I'm going to put this in the chat because it really blew me away. And it says, forgiveness can improve mental and physical health. So we've got to unload. We have to unload the burdens of unforgiveness, and even if we're right, does that make sense? Like, even if you were wronged. And they did this study where they talked to people who, like, their spouses had been murdered, or they had someone swindle all their money, or I mean, just horrific things, right? Horrific things. But when they were able to forgive, it healed them of so much. And actually they went on to live beautiful, amazing, amazing lives.
Yeah,
So
bitterness and anger and frustration are really heavy emotions to carry around with you all the time. And, Carrie and I talk about this book called Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die.
yeah.
They don't die, they take up somewhere in our body, right? So we have a really cool essential oil called Forgive. And I love Forgive because it comes in a nice, easy roll on, and I can use it as perfume and put it on my pulse points and then breathe it in. And there are a lot of firs, like there's spruce.
Yeah, so what's in it? So we have spruce,
Juniper berry.
Juniper berry. Okay, so I love these. So spruce is an oil that gets into your lower lobe of the lung and can help like clean out the gunk, right? So we know the more oxygen you get, the better that is for your heart. And then you said juniper berry. Juniper berry has been known for centuries. A lot of cultures drink it in teas. It's a cleanser, right? So when I just think of like I'm exhaling out all of that frustration and anger and bitterness, I'm purging through my kidneys, right? I'm literally peeing out rage and anger, right? With the juniper. What else is in that blend? Which is going to smell pretty good too.
Bergamot.
Oh, that's, that's
so calming and beautiful, right?
Yeah. Like so good on your central nervous system. It's the key ingredient to Earl Grey tea, in case you have some tea lovers out there. What else is in it?
I've seen you make bergamot tea just with hot water and the bergamot oil, right? You love that.
I'd love to go to bed with that because I just feel like,
it's very calming.
I give all my concerns and frustrations of the day.
So myrrh is also in the oil.
So just those 4 oils?
Nope, myrrh.
Yeah, myrrh's an amazing oil in the fact that it's a tissue. It's nutritive to tissues. So when we think about the heart's a big muscle, right? And our arteries are nice big muscles, and we don't want them to clog, right? We don't want to get like congestive heart issues. And myrrh just like smooths out and strengthens the tissues. It's one of the things that women put on their face in ancient cultures as like a beauty secret. And I add a few drops of myrrh to my night cream, and I always put that on to kind of keep those fine lines and wrinkles away. So why can't we use it also internally for our heart health? I think that would be good.
Yeah, and then interesting enough, arborvitae and thyme are in it. So a little bit of, so some heart issues are from viruses and other illness, bacteria, things like that. So I kind of like that they threw in 2 oils that really support our systems that way.
Yeah, so arborvitae is this tree that comes from Canada, and the native peoples use the tree for everything. Like if you read the history of the shamans and the people who healed in that culture, they used the sap from the arborvitae tree for literally everything. But one of the things they did was they put it on their children to protect them. It was supposed to be an oil of protection. So I always think, take the Forgive, put it over your heart. And what was the last oil? Arborvitae and
thyme.
And what was the last one?
Oh, Nuka also.
Oh, thyme.
Nuka. Yeah, beautiful. It is a beautiful oil. Besides for heart, it's really good for circulation as well, which makes plenty of sense.
Yeah, because Nuka is a cypress, right? So any kind of cypress tree is going to help with your circulation. That's why going for a walk in the woods is actually really good for your cardiovascular system. I mean, I like that we can walk in our houses and have walking desks, but nothing replaces a good old walk in the woods. And I know you and I used to love to do that. So, and it is health giving. So we have some really amazing takeaways for this talk on the heart, right? So we have removing foods that are really chemicals, right? To be kind of smart label readers and start taking some of those away. The second one is, get up and move whenever you can, as much as you can, at least once an hour, and try to get out of that sedentary state. And then the last one is release some of the emotional baggage that you carry, because it's heavy on your heart. And you know what? When we carry something emotional, we're not hurting the other person. We're really hurting ourselves. And so I think as women, especially, we want you to remember, and one of our gifts for you this Valentine's Day is be good to yourself and to be good to your heart. And I hope that one of these 3 takeaways will be something that you can latch on right now, right? And walk away with and unburden yourself. So anything else you wanted to add for our audience before we close the show, Denise?
Nope. I love all that information. I just think you should practice self-love and self-care and love on your sweetheart, right? Love on your sweetheart.
Love on your sweetheart. All right. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.